So you are on a weight loss journey and you've been doing really well, but now you have an event coming and you're afraid that it's gonna throw you off and completely destroy all of your progress. If this sounds like something that you can relate to, keep watching. Do not panic. In this video, I'm gonna share my 6 tips for navigating special events while you're on a weight loss journey. So if you're new here, which you probably are, thank you for clicking on this video. And if you're not new, thanks for coming back. For those of you that don't know, my name is Bethany and I am on a mission to lose 150 pounds. I've already lost over 100, but I'm still working on it. I am gonna go over my most recent weigh-in a little bit later in the video as well. So as luck would have it, I actually had 3 special events in the last 2 weeks. So I've had a lot of practice recently putting these tips into practice. And since it is a weigh-in day, we'll get to see whether or not I was successful at taking my own advice and how well it worked. So let's get into it. So I feel like my first tip, as per usual, is pretty cliche, but things I guess become cliche for a reason, probably because they're true. So my first tip is to remember your why, and then compare the importance of your why to the importance of the event. You just want to make sure that you're putting your priorities in the proper order. And it could be that this event is a once in a lifetime thing and that it completely blows your why out of the water for weight loss. And that's fine. I'll go over a little bit of what to do with that a little bit later in the video. But most of the time, I think what we're going to find is that most of the events that we let get us off track are really not that important to us even. It's something that comes around every year or maybe even multiple times a year. And we're just always thinking that that event is way more important than it actually is to us. But let me be clear, you get to make that decision whether or not this event is worth it to you. Please don't misunderstand me and think that I am telling you to not go participate in events at all. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, pay attention to what the event is and how important it really is to you. We just want to make sure that our priorities are in order, and whether or not that event is worth knocking down your weight loss as a priority compared to the priority of the event. So in a nutshell, I basically just would like you to place a priority level on the event. And then once you kind of have the idea of where that event falls in your priority levels, then we're going to apply the rest of my tips. So the rest of the tips don't talk about whether or not you're going to attend an event. They just kind of help you with how you're going to attend the event and how you're going to participate in it. Okay, so tip number 2 and tip number 3 kind of go hand in hand. And they are to know as much as you can and to plan as much as you can. So I understand that some events you can't know, you can't plan. It's somebody else's wedding or something. You can't necessarily know what kind of food's gonna be there unless there's an order. But as much as you can, find out what kind of food is gonna be there. Are you able to bring food? Is this event at a restaurant where you can look up the menu in advance? So if you are able to look up a menu in advance, you can work your calories or your macros or however you track, whatever your measure of success is going to be, you can work it around that meal. I feel that knowing and planning as much as possible can also help us with our pre-event meals and our post-event meals, which I really feel are some of the most important tools for success in our long-term weight loss. We will get into that a little bit later, but first, tip number 4. Tip number 4 is really for a very specific type of event, like a casual cookout, ice maker. Tip number 4 is really for a very specific type of event. It's a type that I tend to attend a lot, but that is a more casual cookout or a potluck situation where Maybe hamburgers and hot dogs are being provided, but you bring a side dish to share, or like a bring your own meat type of situation. I know my family does that a lot. I go to church picnics that are that way. The church will provide hamburgers and hot dogs, and everyone else brings side dishes. My first kind of tip for this situation is to bring a side dish that comfortably fits into your lifestyle and how you're trying to eat and the goals that you're trying to attain. And B, if you are able to bring a main dish, obviously bring something to throw on the grill. Even if hamburgers and hot dogs are being provided, sometimes I bring a chicken breast and just be like, hey, can you toss this on the grill? Or I'll have my husband cook it up, that sort of thing. So I'm still participating in the grilling situation, but not with the burger situation. Hello, Editing Bethany here. So I was just looking back at this and I just wanted to be clear that if hamburgers and hot dogs is something that you want to indulge in, go for it. For me, the amount of calories that are in these hamburgers that my church uses, it's not worth it to me. I don't actually like hamburgers. And so that's why I was so like chicken breast, because honestly, a hot dog might actually be fewer calories than the chicken breast. Also not as filling, but anyway, I just wanted to be clear that if that is something that you want to work into your calories and into your macros or however you track, like, so be it. But for me, I just was like, I didn't want to utilize the amount of calories for what that item was, if that makes sense. I hope that provides clarity. As I said, I recently used this tip for myself with my church's annual picnic. The church provides hamburgers and hot dogs. My husband does do some of the cooking, and so it was pretty easy for me to just bring a chicken breast with some barbecue sauce and just be like, hey, hon, can you grill this up for me? And so my husband grilled up a chicken breast, and I brought a vegetable heavy pasta salad that's pretty popular. But I had something that I knew exactly how many calories it was, and I was comfortable eating it. I knew it was gonna be filling. I also knew in advance that there would be tons of fruit at this thing, because there always is. So I knew about what I was going to be able to eat, and I made sure to supplement with my own brought items. I know I've also attended a lot of family reunions and things that kind of follow this, we'll provide the meat and you bring the side dishes situation. I also knew there would be a ton of freshly sliced garden tomatoes at this thing, because we have a lot of people that have gardens, and I love fresh garden tomatoes. They're so good with salt and pepper. So I knew I would be eating a lot of those. So basically, between the food that I brought and the food that I know for sure were going to be at this event, I knew that I would be able to have a well-rounded meal that I would be satisfied with. At this particular church event, we being my husband and I, took a long walk around the picnic grounds. We walked for about 45 minutes and just took in the sights, and that way we were able to get in some activity as well. But anyway, back to the tips. Tip number 5 is do not go to the event starving. I think it's common when we're trying to lose weight and we know that we have an event that we don't really have control over, or we just know that there's going to be a lot of temptations there, that we just skip the meals prior to, thinking that we're going to save calories or whatever, and then we go to this event and it's bad. We think that by not eating prior to the event, it will make room for the calories that are going to be at this event. No, that pretty much means you're just going to arrive starving to an event that's full of temptations. And that is a recipe for disaster. I definitely think that it's a safer and healthier practice to continue to eat normally before an event, eat a normal, healthy breakfast, a normal healthy lunch if that's the case, like if it's a dinner event. So eat normal meals like you would have before the event. And that way you won't wind up walking into the land of temptation completely starving. For example, before the church picnic that I mentioned, I did grab a couple of hard-boiled eggs as we ran out the door. Like I said, my husband does a lot of the cooking, so we were there super early. It is a lunch event, but we got there at like 8:30, 9 in the morning. So I did grab a couple of hard-boiled eggs and just ate them in the car on the way there. Since this event was a lunch event, it would have been really easy for me to skip breakfast altogether and just start eating at the event. But then I would have just found myself starving, sitting at a table with tons of food, mayonnaise-based salads and cookies and pies and all the things, and hungry. Definitely not ideal. Most of these tips have been how to make an event fit in with your goals. But of course, there are some events out there that are unalterable, unchangeable, unworkable for your goals. Generally, you can't bring your own food to a wedding. It's generally considered uncouth. And sometimes in that scenario, you don't even know what's going to be served. And I am definitely not telling you to call the bride and ask her what's going to be served. Do not do that. Just no. So tip number 6 is do not let one day, one event be the reason for a total derailing of your progress. One less than ideal meal is not going to single-handedly destroy your weight loss progress, but a series of bad meals might. After one off meal, you might retain some water. The scale might go up a little bit. Do not panic. Do not throw in the towel. This is why the first couple of meals right after the event is the most important time in your weight loss journey. You went to the event, it's behind you. These next couple of meals are what is going to get you back on track and back into the routine of your progress. Do not fall victim to the mentality of, oh, I already messed up, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want for now and start fresh on Monday. No. Start fresh the very next meal. And don't starve yourself either as punishment for eating at the event. Eat the regular healthy meal that you would have had and just move on. And finally, tip number 7, enjoy yourself. They don't seem like it, but I think these events are actually the most integral part of us not feeling deprived while we're on a weight loss journey. These are what is going to make our journey sustainable. What? Let me explain. Life happens. It's going to happen. There is always going to be stuff going on. We cannot not participate in life. I bet if we took a survey of all of us trying to lose weight and asked what the one thing is that makes us feel the most deprived while we're trying to lose weight, the answer would be not being able to participate in social events. And if we are feeling deprived, we're not going to be able to sustain our weight loss. We can only white knuckle our way through feeling deprived for so long before we completely fall off the wagon. So I did touch a little bit on how not to feel deprived in your daily routine, a little bit in my What I Eat in a Day video, which I'll link at the end. So if you're interested, you can go check that video out next. But for now, let's get into the weigh-in portion of the video. So like I said at the beginning of this, I did have 3 special events in the last 2 weeks. 2 of those events were this week during this weigh-in period. I had the church picnic, and then the very next day I had my best friend's 40th birthday party. But anyway, last week I weighed in at 204.8, and this week, drum roll, I weighed in at 203.0 for a loss of 1.8 pounds this week. And that brings my total weight loss for this recent weight loss time to 18.6 pounds. and my total pounds down from my all-time high down to 112 pounds. I have a few more details about how I lost that 112 pounds and a little bit more on my history with weight loss in my first weight loss vlog. So again, if you want to check that video out, I'll also have that one linked at the end. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching to the end. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you're on a weight loss journey. I'd love to hear about your progress. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. See you next time. And don't forget to choose your next adventure.